Ethan Cole never thought one small joke could change his life forever. It was supposed to be a normal diplomatic mission, meet, talk, and make peace with an alien empire that humanity barely understood. He wasn't even a soldier anymore, just a translator who understood a few alien languages. But that day, inside the shining crystal hall of the Valari Palace, everything began to fall apart. The hall looked like something out of a dream. Golden pillars, walls that glowed softly, and thousands of alien eyes watching. At the center sat Princess Liara of Vala, tall, graceful, and nothing like any being Ethan had ever seen. Her skin shimmered faintly with blue and silver tones, like moonlight touching water. Her long, silken hair floated slightly in the air, as if gravity itself was afraid of her. Ethan stood beside Earth's ambassador, translating formal greetings while trying not to stare. The Valari were powerful. Their technology could erase planets if they wanted to. One wrong word could mean war. Everyone in the human group was nervous. When the princess rose, the entire room went silent. Her voice was soft yet commanding. "Humans are strange," she said, her gaze locked on Ethan. "You send words instead of warriors. You offer peace when others would bring fire. Why?" Ethan hesitated, then smiled awkwardly. "Because we've already burned enough worlds," he said. The princess tilted her head curiously, studying him as if he were some rare creature. Then came the moment that changed everything. After hours of tense discussion, she walked toward Ethan, closer than anyone expected. The guards tensed, their weapons ready, but she only stopped inches away from him. Her eyes glowed faintly, a color between violet and blue. "You speak with honesty," she said. "Among my kind, that is rare. Humans are curious." Ethan, nervous and trying to lighten the mood, let out a small laugh. "Well, princess," he said, half joking, "you'd make a good wife for someone who likes honesty." A few people in the human group chuckled quietly until the princess froze. Her expression changed, not angry, not insulted, but surprised. She stepped back slightly, her gaze sharp. "A husband?" she repeated, as if testing the word on her tongue. "Is that a proposal?" The room fell silent. Ethan's blood turned cold. He waved his hands quickly. No, it's just a joke, just human humor." But she didn't smile. Liara looked at him for a long moment, her glowing eyes searching his. Then she nodded slowly. "I accept," she said quietly. Ethan blinked, his mouth open. The ambassador almost fainted. Around them, alien guards started murmuring, confused and alarmed. "Wait, accept what?" Ethan said, his voice cracking. "Your offer," she said calmly, "to become bonded, husband and wife. It is ancient law among my people. When a royal accepts, it becomes binding under Valari tradition." The humans began to whisper in panic. Ethan felt his heart pounding in his chest. "Princess, I didn't mean," he started, but she raised her hand, silencing him. "I know you didn't," she said softly. "That is what makes it purer." Before Ethan could say another word, the chamber lights dimmed. A circle of glowing symbols appeared beneath his feet. The aliens began chanting, something in their native tongue. The ground vibrated faintly, and a warm light wrapped around him and Liara. "What's happening?" Ethan shouted. The ambassador tried to step forward, but the guards blocked the way. "The bonding ritual has begun," one of them said. "It cannot be undone." The light grew stronger. Ethan could feel something reaching into his mind. Strange memories, emotions, flashes of alien stars. He gasped and dropped to his knees as his heart raced. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the light vanished. The hall went silent again. Liara stood tall, her eyes glowing faintly, a small, satisfied smile on her lips. "It is done," she said. Ethan looked around, dazed. What's done?" "You are now my husband, Ethan Cole of Earth," she said softly. "And by our laws, Earth is under protection of Vala." The humans stared in disbelief. Some looked relieved, others terrified. The princess turned and began to walk away, her voice echoing in the hall. "Prepare your heart, human," she said. "The path you have chosen is not one you can walk alone. Ethan was left standing in the middle of the glowing floor, still trying to process what had just happened. He had made a joke, one innocent joke, and somehow ended up married to an alien princess. He didn't know it yet, but that single moment had set off a chain of events that would change the fate of both their worlds forever. The next morning, Ethan woke up in a place that didn't feel real. The walls shimmered softly like liquid crystal. The floor seemed alive with slow-moving patterns of light, and the air smelled faintly of rain and metal. He sat up slowly, blinking at his surroundings, and realized he was no longer in the meeting hall. He was in a chamber, enormous, round, and filled with sunlight pouring through tall glass-like windows. Beyond them stretched a vast alien city, towers floating above mist, flying crafts gliding silently through the air. Everything looked peaceful, but Ethan's heart was pounding. What just happened? He thought. He remembered the ritual, the light, and the princess's words. "You are now my husband." Surely it had to be some kind of misunderstanding. Before he could stand, the doors opened, and Princess Liara stepped inside. She was dressed in flowing silver robes that glowed faintly as she moved. Her hair shimmered like strands of light, and when her eyes met his, Ethan felt a strange warm pulse through his chest. "You are awake," she said softly, her tone calm, almost gentle. Ethan swallowed hard. "Princess Liara, what happened yesterday? That ritual thing. Tell me it was just some kind of ceremony, not—" She stepped closer. "It was a sacred bonding," she said. "Our fates are now joined. You feel it, don't you?" Ethan wanted to deny it, but he couldn't. Deep inside, something had changed. He could feel emotions that weren't his. Calmness, curiosity, even a faint echo of her voice whispering at the edge of his thoughts. "What did you do to me?" he asked quietly. Liara tilted her head slightly, studying him. "I did not do this alone. The bond is shared. You accepted it. Perhaps not in words, but in truth. The ritual only works when both hearts align, even for a moment. I didn't mean to—" Ethan protested, stepping back. "It was a joke. Humans joke all the time." She blinked, confused. "You speak words that carry deep meaning in your culture, yet call them meaningless?" He sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Yeah, we do that a lot." Liara moved closer again, her voice softer. "Among my people, the bond is sacred. It means trust, protection, and shared destiny. When two minds connect, they can see what words cannot express." Ethan didn't know what to say. He could feel her emotions, her sincerity, her calm curiosity, even her sadness. It wasn't like reading thoughts. It was more like feeling her presence inside him. "I can feel you," he said quietly. Her eyes brightened slightly. "Yes, and I can feel you, Ethan Cole." She paused and smiled faintly. "You are loud." He blinked. "Loud." "Your mind, your emotions, they are wild, full of colors and chaos. It is fascinating." Despite the situation, Ethan let out a small laugh. "Well, welcome to humanity, Princess." Liara looked at him for a moment, then nodded. "If we are to share this bond, you must understand what it means to be part of Vala. You are not just a guest now. You are bound by royal law." "What does that mean for Earth?" Ethan asked. Her expression changed slightly. "It means your planet is under royal protection, but it also means your actions, your words, now represent me." Ethan's stomach dropped. "So if I mess up, you're in trouble?" "And if I fall," she said softly, "you fall with me." That day, Ethan was introduced to the Valari court, an endless hall of alien nobles, each more dazzling and intimidating than the last. They stared at him as he entered, whispering among themselves. Some looked disgusted, others curious. One of them, a tall male with markings along his neck, stepped forward. "This cannot stand," he said coldly. "A human cannot be part of the royal line." Liara's tone turned sharp. "He is bound to me, Lord Kale. By the laws of our ancestors, that is final." Kale's eyes narrowed. "The people will not accept this. The council will not accept this." "Then the council can speak to me directly," Liara said, her voice calm but dangerous. Ethan felt the tension in the air like a storm about to break. He stayed silent, but inside, he could sense Liara's hidden fear. She was trying to protect him, but her power had limits. When the meeting ended, Liara walked with him through the palace gardens. Sunlight glowed on the water's surface, reflecting the twin moons that hovered faintly above. "Why are they so angry?" Ethan asked quietly. "Because you are human," she said. "Because you are different. They fear what they cannot control. The bond between us breaks ancient order." Ethan glanced at her. "Then why didn't you just undo it?" She looked away. "Because I do not wish to." The air between them fell silent. Liara's expression softened. "Ethan, you speak of humor, yet I sense something deeper in you. You are not like the others who came before, those who feared us. You are curious. You listen. That is why I accepted." He met her gaze. "You really think I could be your husband?" She smiled faintly. "Perhaps not yet, but the bond does not lie. There is something in you worth trusting." Ethan didn't know what to say. All he knew was that his life was no longer his own, and for the first time in his life, someone could feel every heartbeat, every fear, every flicker of hope inside him. And somewhere deep within that strange connection, he could feel her too, not just as an alien princess, but as someone lonely, burdened, and reaching out for something real. He didn't know it yet, but that fragile bond between them would soon be tested by an enemy neither of them saw coming. Ethan had barely begun to understand his strange new life among the Valari when the first explosion shook the palace. It started early one morning, a sound like thunder echoing across the city. The bright glass towers outside his window trembled. He ran to the balcony just in time to see smoke rising from one of the floating bridges that connected the palace to the rest of the capital. Alien ships, sleek and dark, streaked across the sky like arrows of fire. Before he could even react, Liara burst into the room. Her silver armor shimmered as she moved, and a glowing blade extended from her wrist. Her usual calm expression was gone, replaced by fierce determination. "Stay close to me," she ordered. Ethan barely had time to grab his boots. "What's happening?" "The palace is under attack," she said sharply. "They are rebels, my own people who do not accept our bond." The words hit him like a punch. "They're doing this because of me?" Liara didn't answer. She only grabbed his arm and pulled him down the corridor. The air was filled with the sound of alarms and shouting in the Valari language. Guards sprinted past them, their armor glowing like molten glass, weapons ready. The floor vibrated with each explosion. As they reached the grand hall, another blast hit the outer wall, sending shards of crystal flying. Ethan stumbled, but Liara caught him before he fell. For a split second, her hand on his arm glowed, and suddenly, the ringing in his ears faded, replaced by a strange calm. He looked at her, eyes wide. "Did you just—" "I shielded you," she said quickly. "The bond allows me to share energy." Ethan stared at his hands. They were glowing faintly, too. He could feel her power flowing through him like a current of light. It was both terrifying and alive. They reached the command chamber, where several Valari officers stood around a floating holographic map. One of them, General Thane, turned toward Liara. "The rebels breached the east gate. We've lost 2 defense towers." Liara's jaw tightened. "Evacuate the civilians to the lower sanctum. Hold the eastern corridors. I will protect the bond." Thane hesitated. "Your Highness, the bond." "Do not question me," she said sharply. "The human stays with me." Ethan could feel the eyes of every soldier in the room. Some looked disgusted, others afraid. None of them trusted him. As they moved again through the corridor, Ethan finally spoke. "Liara, listen. If this is because of me, maybe I should just—" "No," she interrupted. "They would attack even if you were gone. You represent something greater now. Change. They fear that." Before he could reply, the wall exploded beside them. The shock wave threw them both to the floor. A group of rebel soldiers stormed through the smoke, tall, armored Valari with crimson markings on their armor. Their leader raised a weapon that looked like a spear made of fire. "There she is," he shouted, "the traitor to our bloodline." Liara stood quickly, energy crackling around her. "You dare call me traitor when you bring war to your own people?" "You brought shame," the rebel hissed. You bonded with a human. Before Ethan could move, the rebel lunged. The glowing spear shot toward Liara, but Ethan didn't think. He stepped in front of her. Time slowed. The spear hit him square in the chest, but instead of burning through him, it shattered. A blinding flash filled the hall. When the light faded, Ethan was still standing, unharmed. His eyes glowed faintly with the same blue energy that pulsed in Liara's veins. Both sides froze. Ethan looked down at his hands, trembling. They were surrounded by a faint, shimmering aura. What just happened? Liara's eyes widened in disbelief. The bond is protecting you on its own. The rebels hesitated, but only for a moment. He carries her power, their leader shouted. Kill them both. Liara stepped forward, energy crackling in her palms. You will not touch him. The corridor erupted in light. Liara moved with impossible speed, deflecting energy bolts with her glowing blade. Ethan felt her heartbeat echoing inside his chest. Every movement, every surge of power, it flowed through him too. He raised his hands instinctively, and a wave of energy exploded outward, knocking the attackers to the ground. When the smoke cleared, silence filled the hall. The rebels were gone. Some fled, others lay unconscious. Ethan felt his knees, gasping for air. What was that? He managed to say. Liara knelt beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. Her eyes were soft but full of wonder. You used my power, she said quietly. The bond has awakened. He stared at her, still shaking. I didn't mean to. I know, she said. But it means something, Ethan. The bond doesn't just share emotions. It shares strength. He swallowed hard. So we're connected even in battle? In everything, she said. Your pain becomes mine. My strength becomes yours. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. Two beings from different worlds, bound by something neither fully understood. Outside, the sound of battle began to fade. The palace still stood, but the war had only begun. Liara rose and looked toward the city beyond the shattered window. They will come again, she said. And next time, they will not stop at the gates. Ethan stood beside her. Then we'll stop them together. She turned to him, surprised. Together? He nodded. Yeah, if I'm really your husband now, guess I should start acting like one. For the first time since the chaos began, Liara smiled, faintly, but truly. Then we fight as one. And as sunlight streamed into the broken hall, Ethan felt the strange energy between them grow stronger, no longer a curse, but the beginning of something powerful. The fires of war burned across the Valari capital for 2 long days. By the third sunrise, the once shining city had fallen silent. Columns of smoke still rose from distant towers, and the air carried the faint hum of ruined energy shields. Ethan stood beside a shattered balcony, watching the destruction below. He had never imagined alien beauty could look so broken. The streets that once glowed with blue light now smoldered in ash. Hundreds of civilians fled across the bridges. Mothers clutching children, guards helping the wounded. Liara stood next to him, her silver armor scorched and cracked, her expression unreadable. They will regroup soon, she said quietly. We can't stay here. Ethan turned to her. You mean leave the palace? She nodded. It is no longer safe. The council has turned. Ethan frowned. The council? The same people who were supposed to protect you. Liara's eyes darkened. They were supposed to protect the Empire. Instead, they now serve fear. They've declared the bond unlawful. They want you dead and me imprisoned. Ethan felt a knot tighten in his stomach. So, the entire government wants us gone. Not gone, she said softly. Erased. Before he could reply, a Valari guard entered the chamber. A young woman with silver tattoos glowing faintly on her temples. Your Highness, she said breathlessly, enemy ships are approaching. They've breached the outer perimeter. Liara turned sharply. Prepare the stealth transport. We leave at once. The guard hesitated. And the others? Liara's expression faltered for just a moment. Get as many civilians as you can to safety. Go. When the guard left, Ethan stepped closer. You're just going to leave your people? Her voice trembled slightly, the first time he'd heard it waver. "If I stay, they will die trying to protect me. If I leave, there's a chance to find allies beyond the capital." Ethan nodded slowly. "Then I'm coming with you." She looked at him, really looked, and for a moment her calm mask cracked. "You don't have to, Ethan. You never asked for any of this." He smiled faintly. "Maybe not, but it's my mess too now, isn't it?" Her lips curved in the faintest smile. "You are learning quickly." That night, under the pale light of Vala's twin moons, they slipped out of the palace through hidden corridors. The halls were silent except for the hum of energy weapons in the distance. The bond between them pulsed softly, a constant warmth in Ethan's chest that guided his steps, letting him feel Liara's focus and fear. At the edge of the city, they reached a small airfield carved into the cliffs. A sleek silver transport ship waited, its engines glowing faintly. As they climbed aboard, Ethan glanced back at the city one last time. "It was beautiful," he whispered. Liara followed his gaze. "It still is," she said, "even in ruin." Moments later, the ship rose into the air, breaking through the smoke and into the clear blue sky. Ethan watched the capital fade beneath them, the palace a small glimmer among clouds of fire. But peace didn't last. Just as the city disappeared behind the mountains, warning lights flared red across the control panel. Liara's hands moved quickly across the glowing controls. "They found us," she said sharply. Ethan glanced out the window. 3 black ships were following close behind, their engines burning bright. "Can we outrun them?" Liara's tone hardened. "Not for long." She pulled a lever, and the ship dove sharply downward. Ethan grabbed a seat, his stomach lurching as they cut through a field of floating crystals that sparkled like stars. Energy blasts streaked past them, lighting up the cockpit. One hit the rear wing, and the ship shuddered violently. "We're hit," Ethan shouted. Liara's eyes glowed faintly as she pressed her hand to the console. A surge of energy passed through her and into the ship. "I can stabilize it," she said through gritted teeth. "But it will drain me." Ethan didn't think. He reached out and grabbed her hand. "Then take it from me." She looked at him in surprise, but the bond flared instantly, light bursting between their joined hands. He felt the power flow through him, burning, electric, but alive. The ship steadied, engines roaring stronger. Outside, a beam of light erupted from the ship's nose, striking one of the enemy vessels. The blast tore through it, scattering debris into the sky. Liara gasped and released his hand. How did you do that?" He was panting, dizzy from the rush. "I don't know. I just felt you needed it." Her eyes softened. "You shared your life force. Humans should not be able to do that." "Well," he said with a shaky grin, "guess we humans keep breaking your rules." Despite the chaos, Liara laughed softly, a sound that eased the weight in his chest. "You are reckless," she said, "but brave." The 2 remaining ships broke formation, circling wide. Liara steered the transport toward the open ocean below. "We'll lose them in the storm fields," she said. Moments later, the ship plunged into thick clouds glowing with flashes of blue lightning. Wind howled around them as bolts of energy struck nearby, lighting up the cockpit like daylight. Ethan could feel Liara's exhaustion through the bond, her breathing shallow, her strength fading. Without thinking, he took the controls. "Rest. I've got this." She looked at him skeptically. "You can fly a Valari ship?" He grinned. "I can try." Guided by instinct and maybe the strained connection between them, Ethan maneuvered the ship through the storm. When they finally broke through the clouds, only silence greeted them. The enemy ships were gone. Liara leaned back, closing her eyes. "We're safe. For now." Ethan looked at her, the once proud princess now slumped in exhaustion, silver light fading from her skin. For a moment, he saw not an alien ruler, but someone who had lost everything. Without thinking, he reached out and brushed a strand of hair from her face. "We'll get through this," he said quietly. She opened her eyes slowly and looked at him. "You speak as if you believe it." He smiled faintly. "I have to, because if I don't, who will?" Liara's gaze lingered on him, her expression softening. You surprise me, Ethan Cole. As the ship drifted quietly above the endless ocean, the two of them sat in silence. Two lost souls bound together by accident, now fugitives in a galaxy that wanted them both dead. But somewhere deep within the bond, Ethan felt something new, a flicker of trust, and the faintest beginning of something more than destiny. Something like love. The storm had passed, leaving only the soft hum of the sea beneath them. For hours, the ship drifted silently over the vast blue ocean until finally, the scanners picked up land, a small island surrounded by rings of glowing mist. Ethan leaned over the console, squinting at the readings. Is that even on your maps? Liara shook her head slowly. No, that region was marked as forbidden space centuries ago. No Valari ship has entered it since the collapse. Perfect, Ethan said, forcing a grin. Sound like a good place to hide. Liara gave him a tired but approving look. You are learning how to think like a fugitive. With a gentle hum, the ship descended through the clouds, landing on a narrow strip of white sand. Beyond the beach lay a dense forest of silver-leaf trees that shimmered faintly in the daylight. The air smelled fresh, untouched, like rain after a long drought. As they stepped outside, Ethan stretched, feeling solid ground beneath his boots for the first time in days. I can't believe this place is real, he said. It's like a dream. Liara walked a few steps ahead, scanning the horizon. No settlements, no energy signals. It is as if time itself forgot this island. Good, Ethan said. Then no one can find us here. But Liara didn't answer. She was staring at something half buried in the sand. A stone pillar, carved with strange glowing symbols. Ethan walked up beside her. What is it? Her voice was quiet. Old Valari script. Ancient. It says, here sleeps the first bond. Ethan frowned. The first what? Bond, she repeated. The connection between two souls, like ours. But this one is said to have created the first peace between Valari and something older. He tilted his head. Older than your people? Liara nodded slowly. There were stories, legends my mother used to tell, of the ancient ones who walked among the stars before us. Some said they shaped the Valari. Others said they fell in love with them. Ethan chuckled nervously. Sounds like your ancestors had some wild romances. But Liara didn't smile. Her eyes were fixed on the pillar, her expression unreadable. If this is true, she murmured, then this island is sacred ground. They spent the afternoon exploring. The jungle was alive with glowing insects and trees that hummed faintly when the wind passed through their leaves. At the center of the island, they discovered a stone staircase leading underground, smooth, ancient, and untouched by time. Ethan hesitated at the entrance. You sure about this? Liara stepped forward without fear. If this place holds the truth about our bond, we must see it. Torches along the walls flared to life as they entered, reacting to Liara's presence. The deeper they went, the more the air seemed to hum with energy, the same warm pulse Ethan felt when the bond between them grew stronger. Finally, they reached a massive underground hall. The ceiling shimmered with crystal veins, casting silver light across carvings that told a story of two figures, one Valari and one human-like, standing hand in hand as galaxies formed around them. Ethan stared in awe. That's impossible. Humans weren't even supposed to exist back then. Liara touched the carvings gently. It means your kind may not be as new as we thought. Perhaps humans once shared the stars with us, before history forgot. Ethan's mind spun. So, our bond is an accident. She turned to him, her eyes reflecting the crystal light. No, it is destiny repeating itself. At the center of the hall stood a circular platform. When they stepped closer, it began to glow softly. Ethan felt the bond pulse again, stronger, sharper, alive. Without thinking, he reached for Liara's hand. The light flared. In an instant, the walls vanished, replaced by a vision, a vast field of stars and two beings standing at the center. One was tall, radiant, with markings like Liara's. The other looked human but glowed with inner light. They faced each other as if speaking, but no sound came. Then they reached out, and their hands touched. A surge of energy rippled through the stars. Planets formed. Light spread. And for a heartbeat, Ethan felt their emotions: love, sacrifice, and unbearable loss. The vision shattered, and the temple fell silent. Ethan stumbled back, breathing hard. What was that? Liara's face was pale. The beginning, the first bond between two worlds. He shook his head, still dazed. You mean this has happened before? She nodded. Yes, but it ended in tragedy. The bond was too strong. It consumed them both. The Valari sealed the memory away to prevent it from happening again. Ethan swallowed hard. So that's why your people fear it. Yes, she whispered. Because when two souls merge completely, one must die so the other can live. The words hung between them like a shadow. Ethan looked at her, really looked, and saw the fear she tried to hide. That's not going to happen to us, he said firmly. We'll find another way. Liara met his gaze, her eyes glistening in the dim light. You speak as if choice still exists. He stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. It does, as long as we're still standing. For a long moment, neither spoke. The temple around them seemed to breathe, the crystals pulsing gently like a heartbeat. Finally, Liara exhaled. Then we must leave this place before others find it. The truth here would destroy everything the Valari believe. Ethan nodded. And what do you believe? She hesitated. I believe that maybe the stars are not finished writing our story. Outside, the sky had turned gold with sunset. As they walked back toward the ship, Ethan glanced at her. So, what do we do now? Liara looked toward the horizon, where the twin suns touched the sea. We find the truth about what the Valari fear most, the reason they erase your kind from our history. Ethan smiled faintly. Sounds like an adventure. She returned the smile, though sadness lingered behind it. Yes, she said softly, but one that might cost us everything. And as night fell over Forgotten Island, the stars above seemed to shimmer brighter, as if watching two souls whose destinies had only just begun to intertwine. The next morning, the island was quiet. Too quiet. Ethan woke first, stepping outside the ship into the pale morning sunlight. The sea shimmered gold, the breeze soft and warm. For a moment, it felt like peace, something rare and almost forgotten. He closed his eyes and listened to the waves. Then he felt it, a faint vibration under his feet. He looked down. The sand was trembling. Liara, he shouted, running back inside. Liara was already awake, her eyes glowing faintly blue as she scanned the console. Something is happening underground, she said. The temple, it's reactivating. Ethan frowned. But we didn't touch anything. Yes, we did, she whispered. When our bond reacted to the chamber, it may have triggered an ancient signal, something powerful enough to awaken the old defense network. Before Ethan could reply, the ship's sensors began to scream. Multiple contacts, approaching fast. Liara's expression hardened. Valari ships. They found us. Ethan stared at the display. How? We were supposed to be invisible. The temple's energy pulse, she said grimly. It must have spread across the stars. They detected it. The sky above them split open with streaks of silver light. Sleek, triangular warships descending through the clouds, glowing like falling stars. Ethan's heart pounded. Can we run? Liara's fingers flew across the controls. I'll try. The ship roared to life, lifting off the beach just as the first Valari blast struck the sand below. Fire erupted, shaking the air. The ocean boiled where energy beams hit the waves. Hold on, Liara shouted as the ship climbed through the sky, weaving between streaks of plasma fire. Ethan gripped the seat, his knuckles white. You said this was a forgotten world. Why are they fighting so hard to stop us? Liara's eyes flashed. Because the temple holds truth that could destroy their control, the truth that humans and Valari were once one. A blast struck the left wing. The cabin exploded with sparks. Ethan coughed, covering his mouth. We're hit. Liara slammed her hand on the emergency controls. I'm losing power. The ship dropped sharply, spiraling down toward the ocean. Ethan reached out, steadying her as alarms wailed. Can you land us? Liara's voice was calm but tight. Not land, Crash. The next few seconds were chaos. The ship tore through waves, then slammed into the water with a deafening roar. Steam and debris filled the air. When it finally stopped, Ethan could hear only his heartbeat and the hiss of dying engines. He turned to Liara. "You okay?" She nodded weakly. "Yes, but they will be here soon." Ethan looked around the cracked cockpit. "Then we need to move, now." They escaped the wreck, dragging a small emergency case to the shore of a nearby island, smaller, rocky, hidden by mist. From there, they watched as Valari ships descended on the crash site. "They're scanning the wreck," Ethan said, breathing hard. "Looking for us." Liara watched silently, her face pale in the dim light. "They will not stop until we are erased." "Because of the bond?" "Because of what it means," she said quietly. "If the Valari people learn the truth, that our power was born from unity, not domination, their empire would fall." Ethan sat down on a rock, rubbing his temples. "So what now?" "Keep running." Liara turned to him, her eyes softening. "No, we can't run forever. We need to find a way to end this, to show them what the bond truly is." He raised an eyebrow. "And how do we do that?" She looked toward the horizon, where lightning flickered above the temple island. "The temple holds a core crystal, a memory device from the ancients. If we can retrieve it, it might prove everything." Ethan exhaled. "So we go back?" Liara nodded. "Yes, but this time we won't be alone." She opened the emergency case and pulled out a small glowing sphere, a communication beacon. "This was hidden for a reason," she said. "It can call allies, rebels who still believe the Valari should live free, not in control." Ethan's eyes widened. "You have rebels?" "I had friends once," she said softly. "Before the throne, before the wars." She activated the beacon. The sphere floated into the air, emitting a deep blue pulse. Within seconds, it vanished into the clouds. Hours passed. They waited in silence as the Valari fleet circled the main island, sending drones to search. The air trembled with the sound of distant thunder. Then, a flash of light appeared above them. 3 smaller ships emerged, sleek and dark, moving fast. One of them descended near the shore. A woman stepped out, tall, wearing battle armor similar to Liara's but marked with red insignias. Her eyes glowed faintly. "Princess Liara," the woman said with a cold smile. "I didn't believe it when I heard the call. You're alive." Liara stepped forward. "Commander Avon, I need your help." Avon's eyes flicked toward Ethan. "You've bonded with a human. You realize what that means?" "I do," Liara replied. "It means everything we were told was a lie." Avon studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Then we fight together." The rebels helped repair the crash-damaged systems. As the sun began to set, they prepared for one final mission: to return to the temple and recover the ancient core before the Valari fleet destroyed it. Ethan stood beside Liara, watching the glowing horizon. "You think this will work?" Liara glanced at him, her expression both fierce and tender. "I don't know, but if the truth can change even one heart, then it's worth it." He smiled faintly. "You sound like a leader." She looked away, her voice soft. "Maybe I just sound like someone who's finally found something to fight for." As the night deepened, the stars shone brighter above them, and for the first time, Ethan saw one star pulsing with the same rhythm as their bond. He whispered, "Looks like even the universe is watching." Liara turned to him, a small smile forming. "Then let's give a story worth remembering." And with that, the rebels launched into the night sky, flying toward the temple island glowing in the distance, unaware that what awaited them there was not just a truth, but an awakening that could change both species forever. The night sky burned with light. Ethan's pulse raced as their ship cut through the clouds toward the glowing island. Behind them, 3 rebel fighters followed close, their engines humming in unison. Below, the temple's crystal surface gleamed through the mist, pulsing brighter than before, like it was alive. Liara stood beside him in the cockpit, her eyes fixed ahead. "The temple's power core is fully awakened," she said. "If the Valari fleet attacks it, the energy will spread across the planet." Ethan frowned. "What kind of energy?" She hesitated. "The kind that doesn't stop." The ancients built it to protect their creations or to destroy those who betrayed them. So if it's triggered, everything ends, she said simply. Ethan tightened his grip on the controls. Then let's make sure it doesn't. The ocean below rippled with light as their ships descended. The Valari fleet had already arrived. Dozens of silver warships hovering over the temple ruins like vultures. Bolts of energy crackled through the air as rebel fighters clashed with the fleet's drones. Liara opened a comm link. Avon, cover our approach. We're heading for the central chamber. Avon's voice crackled through the speakers. Copy that, Princess. We'll hold them as long as we can. The ship broke through the smoke, landing hard near the temple steps. Ethan and Liara jumped out, sprinting through chaos. The air was filled with a hum of weapons and the roar of energy fire. Inside the temple, the crystals were glowing like stars. The central platform, the one that had shown them the vision, now floated several feet above the ground, spinning slowly, radiating heat and light. Liara ran to it, shouting over the noise. The memory core is inside that projection. We need to stabilize it. Ethan crouched beside her. How? Your bond is the key. You must focus your thoughts. Trust me. He looked at her, breath heavy. Always. Together, they placed their hands on the platform. The light flared, surrounding them in white brilliance. Instantly, they were somewhere else. They stood in a void filled with floating shards of light, memories suspended in space. In front of them appeared two glowing figures, one Valari and one human, the same beings from before. But this time, the vision continued. They saw the human reach for the Valari's hand, then saw their worlds behind them begin to merge, collapsing stars forming bridges between galaxies. Their love had reshaped the cosmos, but it had also fractured it. The energy they created was too strong, too pure, and it tore the Valari civilization apart. Liara gasped softly. They didn't die in battle, they became one. Their bond created this power, the same energy the Valari now fear. Ethan looked around, trying to take it all in. So that's what this is, a repeating cycle. The bond between our species. It keeps coming back. The glowing figures turned toward them. Their voices echoed softly through the void. We were the first. You are the last. Complete what we began. The light around them pulsed violently. The temple trembled. Then the vision shattered, and they were back. Liara stumbled, clutching her chest. The energy is unstable. It's feeding on us. Ethan's heart pounded. Can we shut it down? She looked at him, tears forming in her eyes. Yes, but only if one of us breaks the bond. He froze. Break it? What does that mean? Her voice trembled. The bond connects our souls. Breaking it means one of us must give up our life. It's the only way to stop the overload. No, he said instantly. We'll find another way. There isn't time, she shouted as the temple walls cracked, sending beams of light shooting into the sky. Outside, ships were exploding, waves rising hundreds of feet tall. Ethan grabbed her shoulders. Then we'll both do it. Together. She shook her head, her expression breaking. You don't understand. If both of us try, it won't end the surge. It'll amplify it. I have to be the one. He stared at her, horrified. Liara. She smiled softly, tears glimmering like starlight. When you joked about me being your wife, I never thought I'd wish it were true. Don't, he whispered. Don't say goodbye. She reached up and touched his face. I'm not saying goodbye. I'm saving the stars for you. Before he could stop her, she stepped onto the platform. The crystals flared blinding white. Liara, he shouted, running forward. But an invisible force pushed him back. She was standing in the center, her body glowing brighter and brighter as a light poured from her chest into the temple's core. The air filled with her voice, soft and echoing. Live, Ethan, tell them the truth. Then, with a burst of light, the platform exploded, and everything went silent. When Ethan woke, the island was gone. Only calm ocean stretched in every direction, lit by a single beam of light descending from the clouds, fading slowly into the water. He was floating in the emergency pod, surrounded by debris. His comm crackled weakly. Avon's voice came through, broken by static. The temple's gone. The fleet is retreating. Whatever she did, it's over. Ethan's voice was hoarse. She saved us. Yes, Avon said quietly, and she saved more than that. He looked up at the sky. The stars above seemed different now, brighter, as if washed clean. For a moment, one of them flickered gently in a familiar rhythm. He smiled faintly through the tears. You kept your promise, Liara. Months later, the war ended. Word spread to the Valari Empire the human bond, the union that broke the old order and reminded them of their shared origin. The rebels became leaders, building a new alliance between humans and Valari. And though Ethan never saw Liara again, he sometimes felt her presence, a soft warmth in the air, a whisper in his mind when he looked toward the stars. Every night, he returned to the shore where it all began, and when the wind brushed against him, carrying the faint scent of silver leaves, he would close his eyes and whisper, "Good night, princess."